Hello. I wasn't sure I was gonna make it to Gemini season, but we are here. I'm coming to you as I am today, just purely me. I want to remind you, if you are joining me, hopefully just as you are as well, that this is a space for alignment, not perfection. A place where we learn through the body, move with flexibility, and meet ourselves with grace. Today we're exploring through Gemini, and as always, I invite you to explore what speaks to you and leave the rest. So after Taurus, I know I'm a little bit late to Gemini. I was so rooted into Taurus, I almost couldn't climb my way out. No. After Taurus has rooted, then Gemini begins to move. This is a season where energy starts circulating through the mind, through the breath, communication, and connection. As we get ready to move, I want you to first find your breath. Observe your thoughts without chasing them. Notice your breath without changing it. And let the body soften underneath the mind. I love that. Let's begin. Gemini is about curiosity and movement, communication and expression, mental stimulation and adaptability, duality and seeing multiple perspectives. Like, think of air energy as circulation. So it's like any and everything all at once. They kind of have a bad rep in the Zodiac, but you can learn a lot from them, and they're willing and want to learn from everyone and everything. As I've been studying Gemini, what stands out to me is how alive this energy feels. Gemini wants to explore, question, connect, and more. My sister is 2 Sages and a Gemini moon, and she is just uber curious about everything. Questions with everything, and I'm just like, wow, that's pretty interesting, because me, like my Aries and my 2 Pisces, I'm like, if a thought comes or something ignites me, I go. I really don't question. Pisces is just very, I move when I feel things, and also just very much go within. So it's very interesting to see how our thought processes work so differently. Gemini reminds us that flexibility isn't just physical, it's mental too, which is really cool. We're going to talk as we go a little bit about the nervous system and overstimulation, constant thinking, and information overload, which can be kind of like the shadow side of a Gemini. And if we tie it into motherhood, that can come through looking like carrying mental load, multitasking, feeling mentally on all the time, craving conversation and individuality while mothering. So let's bring this out of the mind and into the body. Let the breath create the movement. Expand without forcing, and notice where you hold tension when the mind is busy. That's a good one. For me, sometimes I can literally feel like my brain throbbing, so I can get tension like around my temples, and then it'll kind of move down into right down my vagus nerve and into like my traps and my shoulders if it gets heavy. Take a few breaths. I'm already opening. Just let that leave. If you yawned with me, let it move. Another breath, and then we'll open up through the side. So I want you to either allow this arm to stay and the shoulder dropped on this knee here, lifting up and over from your right to your left. You can mirror me. And if this arm drops down to the floor, that's actually better. And you just want to keep the palm facing up so you don't kind of get into this position. Inhale, exhale, and sinking over to the side. I can feel like my knees kind of lifting to try and kind of balance myself or kind of stop myself from tilting. And once I feel that release, once I've taken that breath and I can kind of center into that, I can continue to stretch as my legs release. We're going to continue this arc and take it forward and roll up. Other side. Ooh, this side needs it. So much so it's not even fighting me. It's like, just let it happen. One more breath. Follow that arc, take it forward, and roll up. Good. For a little rib cage mobility, we're literally just going to take, again, your right hand over towards your left knee. Take a breath, exhale. Release as you attempt to look directly behind you as far as you can. Allow the shoulders to drop in that exhale. You can go twist a little bit further as your breath expands. Ooh, yeah, friends, I got a good crack. Nice. Release, and I like to kind of just swing side to side before I take it to the other side. I'm a little restricted in my space here, but we're working with it. One more breath. And release. Whew. Yeah, buddy. We're going to do some shoulder mobility as well. So we're just literally going to open and circle back. Opening the shoulders by lifting them up and back down. One more time. And let's reverse that. So arching back, bringing them up and forward. Okay, and we'll take that a little bit bigger. Let's do it with our arms. Inhale as you reach back. Exhale, coming forward. Good, shaking that out. All right, and let's take our arms. We're gonna bring this across the body. I skipped over to your left side first because I'm using my right. Now, yeah, we tend to kind of grip the shoulder up as you take a breath. Exhale, allow that shoulder to drop. And then you really will tend to feel that where you should, which is somewhere around here. And then creeping back around to that deltoid, which is kind of like right trap delt area. That triangle you got going on behind your shoulder. One more breath. Good, other side. Whew. I had a intense workout yesterday. It was like a partner workout, so you kind of like you're pushing yourself for your partner. And I told her, I was like, I'm gonna feel this tomorrow. One more breath. Good. All right, I'm gonna do this facing you, so I'm gonna move back a little bit. Let me turn sideways for you. Hopefully my cheeks aren't out too much. Got my shorts on today. Toes tucked, and then you can sit back as much as you can. Bring your knees a little bit forward if that helps. Yeah. Ooh, baby. Good. And then we're gonna flip them And then you want to tuck the toes if you can. Actually, oof, my forearms are like, no, you can't do that. Whew. Good. We're expanding without forcing, and we're noticing where we're holding tension when our mind is busy. That's something you can take with you and think about. Okay. You definitely want to shake those out. You can actually do a couple of like wrist circles to open that up. Good. Whew, because that was deep. So we opened up those areas because Gemini rules communication, arms, hands, lungs, and nervous energy. When we communicate, whether we're communicating in a calm or nervous fashion, we'll tend to use our hands, our arms. You know what I mean? So it's not surprising that Gemini rules those parts of the body. Let me turn this way. All right, so with this, you want your shoulders and shoulders, hands, and knees to be in a perfect square. Same with the part. And we're going to inhale as we arc. And exhale as we curve. Pushing all the way up. Inhale. And exhale. One more. Inhale. Exhale. And just because we did not take it yet, and I like to always start us out in our child's pose, let's go ahead into that. From the curved cat-cow. And the back of my body is really thanking me after. Honestly, this whole week, I went on a random trip to Wyoming with my son and my husband. Took the plane ride back by myself with my son, which he was fantastic. Slept the most of the ride, but just being on the plane. And then I went straight into a dance recital for the weekend. It's been hectic, but good. Awesome. And you're going to gently, let's drop the shoulders. Gently bring your hand up over your head, your left, my right. You can face this palm up. Open that elbow down towards the floor, not keeping it up, allowing both shoulders to be relaxed and really opening this side of your neck. Let everything go. Roll the head around to the other side. Meet the hand. Release. And try not to allow yourself to teapot tilt. Find your center, and so that you can really let the focus be your neck that's opening and expanding here. One more breath. And let's take one more forward. Both hands, we can interlace our fingers. Gently resting both hands at the base of like your skull, right above your neck. It's not like right on my neck. It's more so on the back of my head. Ooh, yes. Let gravity take this. Elbows sinking down into the floor. Like I always say, guys, I'm leading you through this, but I'm not doing it nearly as much as I should as well. And this feels so good. Whew, let it go. Hit a circle. Iron that out, man. Reverse. Oh, it's cracks everywhere. Rolling up, shake it out. Okay, great. So let's talk about the strengths of Gemini. Adaptability, as we talked about, curiosity, communication, playfulness, quick learning, and connection. Where in your life are you being invited to stay curious instead of rigid? What happens in your body when you allow flexibility instead of control? I love that thinking. This is one thing I love about like stretching, passive stretching, the way that we do it. Almost every time you can apply where you're feeling tension in your body to where you are seeking control in that area of your life, which is your body's reading, or your body's receiving that, or your body's helping to control that in different ways. I'm not going to go through examples right now, but just think about that as you take this practice through the rest of this month. Yeah, let me ask that again. What happens in your body when you allow flexibility instead of control? What I will say is that a lot of the clients that I've worked with in the past, you know, you're thinking about stretching in a way that you work out, where you want to make sure that you touch their toes. So you're like gripping. A lot of times then they restrict themselves because they probably could go further if they would just use their breath to just sink into a forward fold instead of gripping, and now they're inviting tension to their abs, and they're catching cramps, and they're only going so far, and they're shaking everywhere because you're trying to force what you can allow to happen. How does that translate for you? It's pretty huge for me, and I loved helping clients see the difference in allowing their stretch to go deeper rather than forcing it. So now let's talk about some of Gemini's shadow patterns and overstimulation and how that shows up. I touched on it earlier, but you know, there can be mental overwhelm because that air energy is just all consuming, and it just wants to learn so much, and it just wants to communicate so much, and it just wants to ask so many questions that then, you know, it's like literally, right? Overstimulation and overwhelm, anxiety and scattered energy, difficulty slowing down, talking instead of feeling, which Cancer is going to come in and really show us how to feel, right? So through a motherhood lens, that can look like overstimulation, decision fatigue, feeling mentally fragmented. There's not a theme, there's lack of alignment. There's just, you know, think of this, then you're thinking of this, then you're thinking of this, then you're thinking of this. And your day is just like scattered, which a lot of moms talk about that they do feel. So thinking about how you can kind of, what did we say earlier, soften your body beneath your mind, and you don't have to chase every thought. You don't have to overthink every part of your day, honestly. And sometimes allowing your kids to teach you, to lead you in a gentle way, obviously. Here's an anchor phrase that you can take with you. A busy mind still needs a grounded body. So if you are someone with Gemini in your chart and you kind of move with Gemini energy, please allow yourself to take some of what Taurus has taught us and really find ways that you can ground your body so that it doesn't follow your mind where your mind goes, you know, and your mind can, again, softening your body beneath the mind. I really love that phrase. So that your mind can, you know, you can allow it to wander and do its thing, but find that grounding so that you're not a full scattered energy and you've got a little bit of balance. So balancing stimulation with stillness, allowing silence, creating nervous system space. I really know how to, for me, like I can shut it down and like go into all. Just had a friend text me like, hey, you're good. And I'm like, yeah, I was feeling very overstimulated mentally because there was just a lot. Last week was just a lot for me with the traveling, which came out and kind of was what's the word? Not planned. Spontaneous is the word I was looking for. And then I knew I was leading into the week, like midweek. We just did like a 1.5 day trip halfway across the map. I live in New Jersey, went all the way to Wyoming. And then I'm on the plane for the first time with my son, who's 3. He had a lung issue. There was the thought of like, how's this gonna go with his lungs? Everything worked out, but just mentally, like all this going through my mind, and then knowing I had to come back to a dance thing, and I was also performing in this recital, and it was just really mentally, it was a lot. And then I just allowed myself to crash this weekend. I had the help of nature to help me do that. I probably would have done it regardless, but I'm kind of thankful that she came and slowed me the hell down. And I did. I told him, I was like, I was in a hole. I'll hit you tomorrow. And I just allowed myself to, me as Pisces, I will just go to sleep. Good night. And just shut it all down until I can come back out and be like, all right, what's next? What are we doing next? That's how I tend to ground. I mean, not just sleep, but it helps me get out of my head when I do find myself kind of like thinking about what's coming up. What do I need to do to prepare? That's where I go. It's not so much information for me. There was a time where it was information, but for me, it's more like, you know, what's my to-do list? What do I have to do? How do I have to do it? Where do I have to be? What has to be done? What do I need to plan? That's kind of like where I go right now. So balancing that stimulation with stillness helps. Allowing a lot of silence as much as possible. I know that some of you are, of course, are maybe single moms. You don't have the windows as I typically have access to. Like every weekend I can kind of somewhat check out, at least for a few hours at the very least, but typically I at least have a Saturday. I know that's not always the case for everyone, so give yourself grace. Where there's a will, there's a way. Even if it's an hour at some point in your week, in your month, somewhere that you can carve out for yourself to just kind of like check out, shut down, do what you have to do. Or if it's simple as adjusting your child's nighttime routine, nighttime schedule, so that, you know, they're in bed and you have at least a few hours before you go to sleep, like that. Or if you're a morning person and you're getting up before your kids, that is not me, honey. I'm definitely a night owl. He's down by 9-ish, the latest, and then I still have a few hours before I'm taking it down. But there's ways, ladies. So I really want you to think about how you can find that stillness for yourself. And so you're not leaning so much into what Gemini can create for us, so that you have the freedom to utilize Gemini energy in the playful way, through its strengths, playfulness, and yes, learning and being curious about your kids, being curious about, new information. And it doesn't just add on to your plate. If you carry Gemini energy, let's talk about how we can mother through that. You may process through talking or movement. Your balance comes from grounding and slowing down the nervous system, as we just talked about. Curiosity can become wisdom when it's not rushed. I kind of just touched on that. So again, if you're giving yourself the time to slow down your nervous system, then you can open up for your natural inclination to be curious about certain things, right? If your child carries Gemini energy, they may need communication, variety, and movement. They often learn through interaction and exploration. Redirection works better than force. I want you to take this as a reflection. What thoughts are you ready to soften? What would it feel like to move through life with more mental flexibility? Can curiosity exist without pressure? I think so. You want to lean more into that playful Gemini energy where curiosity is without the pressure, is without what would happen, what could happen if, instead of, oh my God, what's going to happen if? You see the difference? Like, what could happen if? What's going to happen if I don't do X, Y, Z? What's going to happen if I do? Like, that's a pressure cooker type of curiosity. Let's take a breath. Gemini, they're dope. They're dope. They get a rep for being like the crazy sign, but they do teach us to like stay playful, stay childlike, stay curious, stay adventurous, stay willing to learn. Let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, they can come with some anxiety and some like, you know what I'm saying, overstimulation, but they can chill that out. And I think we should all learn from their opportunity to balance. So I hope this helped. We did a little bit of a lighter stretch today. We didn't lay out flat. So this is an easy one that you can definitely take. It's a lot more, leans more towards like our mental stimulation. This is part of a larger journey and learning how to live in balance with ourselves through movement, awareness, and flexibility. If this practice supports you, you're welcome to return. We'll continue to be moving in alignment, one sign at a time. Remember, flexibility is freedom and life is free energy aligned. See you next time.